Haste was built on two core ideas. What if Tiny Wings, a mobile game from 2011, was three-dimensional? And what if a 10-year-old did the Death Star run? It scratches that brain itch that something like Titanfall does in the best way possible. I think you can tell by, the name of the game that it's all about going fast. In fact, that's like all anyone is talking about right now. So I'm gonna look at the game with a bit more nuance than just go fast, but obviously, knowing the game, there will be a lot of that too. Haste takes you through a bunch of levels called fragments, which make up a much larger level called a shard. In these levels, you have to outrun the end of the world, and you do that by swan diving face first into the ground. It's a tried and tested formula, and that's absolutely seen in games like Tribes, Tiny Wings, and the blatant rip-off Dune. There's a reason why these games are popular. They're really fun, really simple to understand, and really addicting. The games are all about maintaining and gaining momentum by perfectly aligning your landing angle with the ground, and that's way, way more simple in a two-dimensional plane. By expanding it to 3 dimensions, Haste gets infinitely more complicated and infinitely more fun. I'll give you some of my favorite examples of this really quick. You obviously slide down and land on slopes to gain more speed, but things get a lot trickier when you mess up. So what can you do if you're hurtling towards a wall and a bottomless pit at breakneck speeds? Is it A, cry, B, Alt F4, C, pray to the higher powers above? Or is it D, run on the wall? If you feel the quiz is too hard, I understand. I'll remove one of the questions, make it a little bit easier for you. I've saved countless runs like this, but running on terrain has some even more practical uses that I'm going to talk about next. Each of your landings are scored from okay, bad, good, and
perfect.
What? Please shut up. The better your landing, the more speed you retain. Pretty simple, right? Well, if you land
perfect,
you actually get a small boost in speed, which is integral for staying alive for longer. Are you gonna do this every time? What's going on? So the game plan becomes figuring out which pieces of terrain you can land on, ideally, to gain speed as quick as you can. A lesser game would limit it to just the ground, but Haste ain't a lesser game. You can get incredibly precise on what pieces of the environment you land on, depending on the angle you approach. These thorns can be landed on top of if you only hit the wood. If you get really good at this, you can land on some incredibly sharp surfaces that you couldn't have otherwise. Landing
perfect.
Oh, fuck you. Landing perfectly off of one of these also gives you another important benefit: filling this tiny yellow energy bar. Filling one of these segments lets you use your chosen ability, which completely changes the way you play. There are 4 to choose from that are all unlocked by spending points after a run. Your starting ability is the Courier's Board, which lets you do one simple thing: go faster. It's incredibly useful when recovering from a failed boost, or getting sustained speed over time, which will lead to better times in the run. It also gives you a tiny vertical boost, which is really useful for saving runs. Speaking of vertical boosts, there's the Cowl, though people call it more by its colloquial term, the best one. It basically just acts as a mid-air jump, but that has a lot of possibilities in a game like Haste. It can also be used on the ground for a much larger, faster boost, since it gives you a bit of speed. There's no jump button in Haste, so this is the best you're gonna get without using the terrain. It's also incredibly useful for chaining perfect landings, since you can modify your landing angle on a whim. Next up is the legally required grappling hook. It needs no intro, it's exactly what you'd expect by now. It plays decently similarly to how it would in something like Titanfall or Apex, and that is the highest tier of compliment I can give. You can use it to slingshot yourself, maneuver around objects, or save yourself from falls. Last, but certainly not least, is the hourglass. Instead of requiring a full bar like the others to activate, you can actually use this with any bit of your remaining energy. Charging it up slows down time, and the longer you charge, the faster you get shot after your release. Since you get such a large boost in maneuverability and speed, it can be incredibly useful for saving yourself from really sticky situations. This is my other favorite because it has so much tech and little bits of jank and spice to it. It's so fun. Either way, all of these completely change the way you play the game and add a really nice layer of complexity to the gameplay loop. This is all especially true when you consider the shops, and by extension the perks, you can get mid-run. These perks are bought using sparks that are gotten mid-level, by the end of the level reward bonuses based on your placement, and by completing challenging boss levels. They have a wide range of uses, from basic upgrades like 60 extra health, to neat gameplay changes like gaining more sparks while running, or giving you some leniency on your landings. They also have some of the most absurd shit you have seen in your life. Yeah, I could just be invincible and never touch the ground if I wanted to. Fun! The best part about these, though, is that it's not just one perk that makes you invincible. You have to gather all of them and combine them in unique ways. You really want to try choosing perks that synergize with your chosen ability. For something like the Courier's Board, I really like choosing perks that give speed up or boost on spark pickup, as well as giving energy for collecting sparks. This just lets me hold down the board for way longer than I normally could, and lets you squeeze out speeds that shouldn't be possible. I like to call this build euthanasia because that's what ends up happening. However, the perk system really shines when it's utilizing something called close calls, or as I'll be calling it, grays. If you've ever played a Touhou game, you know exactly where this is going. When you get too close to an object but don't hit it, you'll get these little close call markings pop up on your screen. Now, these don't benefit you on your own besides being stylish, but if you have an inventory item with, let's say, 10% boost gained per close call, it starts to get out of hand incredibly quickly. The cooldown for these is nearly non-existent, so you can graze past multiple objects and get both boosts. These perks can also be stacked for insane effect. With just 2 of those boost perks, I get 40% by just gliding by 2 harmless objects. Flying by 4 gives me 80%, and you're starting to see the picture here, right? Then you throw in the perk that gives you double close calls, and you know, you wouldn't happen to have a fear of blunt force trauma, would you? Man, they really gotta start handing out liability waivers with this thing. All of these close calls are even more boosted by the cowl. You duck and weave through so many close calls, it just feels unfair at this point. If you get enough energy from spark pickups, graze, or just natural cooldowns, you can fly. And now, I hope you can see why I've sunk 15 hours into 4 days of owning this game. The answer is I have issues. There's a lot of value in the perk system, but it isn't unlimited. Once you complete the boss the Shard, yes, there are bosses and they're all focused around your movement, you lose access to purchasing more perks. From here on out, it's all skill and whatever perks you manage to cobble together beforehand. And I know what you're thinking. All of this speed is actually important. The further you go on a run, the faster the world starts to crumble, which means you have to continuously play better and speed up to go as long as you can. Now, this also wouldn't be an issue if the world didn't decide to coincidentally increase its homicidal urges. It'll start throwing things such as rocks, icicles, missiles, bombs, the entire cactus supply of the Sahara Desert for some reason. A fucking black hole, sure, why not? Anything's possible at this point. Because of how precise the movement is, it's all within your control. It takes a lot of foresight to get good at this game, especially since you can't slow down to think. It's all adrenaline after a certain point, but those 150+ mph speeds aren't really required to beat the game, just to push yourself. The difficulty of the game was something the devs severely misjudged early on though. The game is admittedly quite hard, especially for those who haven't played something like this before. It takes a lot of skill to keep up, so they're already lowering the barrier to entry and fixing a lot of the pain points people had. Within the first 3 days, we've already had 3 patches, doing things like buffing your health and turn speed, and giving some more leniency on the earlier levels. They've even also already added multiple new features, things like shop rerolls, the ability to pick multiple levels of the shard map at once, and a true non-stop endless mode after completing all shards, no map required. The big takeaway here is that they show no signs of stopping, and they're incredibly speedy at patching out bugs and issues. So, what would I change? Personally, I think the only thing this game needs besides the obligatory more content that every game could use is like the ability to choose songs from a jukebox for the endless mode. The soundtrack is so damn good. There are a surprising amount of songs, and I'd really value being able to hear more of them more often. Along with that, adding a little indicator on the world map for where every shard is located could do wonders for the readability of the hub world. I cannot recommend Haste enough. It's a Landfall game. It can't be bad. It's an incredibly complete experience that just gets better every time I play. Thanks so much for stopping into Mocha's Cafe. There should be a new video out soon, so stay tuned for that. I hope to see you again sometime soon. Have a nice night and take care.